Assalamu alaikum, family. Welcome to the State of Black Business today on the Sajda Wendy Muhammad YouTube channel. We're going to talk about success. We're going to talk about defining success and being a success ambassador. I don't know about you, but I'm excited for today. I'm excited to see how Allah is going to make himself known throughout all of our lives today. Let's talk about that, and let's talk about success right here in a few minutes on the Sajda Wendy Muhammad YouTube channel. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace be unto you. Welcome to the State of Black Business on the Sajda Wendy Muhammad YouTube channel. Why do I call this the State of Black Business? Because the state of Black business is the state that we are in. We, as Black business owners, as Black conscious entrepreneurs, what state of mind are we in? What emotional state are we in? And if you understand that state, then you understand the state of Black businesses. It's not how many Black businesses we have. It's not how much money we're making. It's the state in which those of us that run, own, operate, and create the businesses are in. That's the state of Black business. And what we work very hard on right here on this show is learning to control and manage our states. And I know people get so offended all the time because we're always like Black this and Black that. See, here's the deal. At the end of the day, we have been through so much trauma. And I'm not saying that we're the only race of people that have been through trauma, but we specifically have a tremendous amount of trauma that we're navigating through for each and every subject that we face. Anything we deal with, it's a trauma response. And so just to respond, we're navigating through that trauma and trying not to let that trauma control us and trying to figure out how to get through some of the evidences of the trauma. So I woke up this morning and the first thing on my mind, instead of thinking about my life as a to-do list, right? Like jumping up, like, okay, let me go pray, let me go meditate, let me get my coffee, let me get my tea, let me do this, let me do that. I got up, I had made some hibiscus tea in the sun yesterday. And I sweetened it with some fruit and then just kind of let it steep in there overnight. And so I got up, went and got my hibiscus tea, was getting ready. And I just thought, I'm so excited to see how Allah shows up and makes himself known today. Yeah, of course, we all got a to-do list. But I said, you know what? Let me make a shift because I'm really busy and I'm a project management type of person. So I'm always defining like what do I have to do at this time? What needs to be accomplished today? What do I need to focus on? What do I need to work on? And then that begins to trigger, different traumas and different challenges. And then I'm figuring out how do I get through it? And some days it becomes a challenge, right? Because I'm still moving through the motions, but the challenge is emotional. So I said, you know what? I'm going to drink this beautiful hibiscus tea. That's good for my cholesterol, my blood pressure. It's anti-inflammatory. It tastes good. It's really super pretty. I love the way hibiscus tea looks. And I'm going to really dive into how I'm feeling in my heart, which is I'm excited to see how Allah is going to show up and make himself known today. And I wanted to talk about that before we get into success and a success ambassador. It all ties in, right? Because the state of Black business is the state of mind and the emotional state that we are in. And we specifically have these traumas, these challenges that we're dealing with. And I know a lot of times this is a scary thing to say to people who've been through trauma. So I say this with risk, but what is important is how you feel. And I don't mean that in a predatory way. I don't mean it in a way that you make sure you feel good and forget everybody else. I don't mean it in a way where you just treat everybody else like crap because you're just worried about how you feel. I don't mean that. I mean, take inventory and take your own temperature. How are you feeling? Take a moment right now. How are you feeling right now? And be honest with yourself. Do you feel good? Do you feel happy? Are you sad? Are you afraid? Are you worried? Are you angry? Are you anxious? But take an emotional inventory right now of how you're feeling. And based on what you've learned here on the show and throughout life about what certain emotions produce, and what vibrations certain emotions have. Are you in the right state of mind to even be able to recognize God showing up in your life today? And are you in the right state of mind to even accomplish what you really need to accomplish today? And you're going to see from this video, I'm going to show you from Dr. Miles Monroe that success is all about what's going on inside of you. What's in there that you are working on? Who are you competing against? Are you competing against me, or are you competing against yourself? Are you competing against the person in the next cubicle? Or are you competing against yourself? Are you competing against the next lawyer down the street, or the next mortgage broker down the street? Or are you competing against yourself? We all have trauma that we're dealing with. You can't be in this world today and not have certain levels of trauma. I wanted to specifically talk about success today. I was watching an ABC documentary on the history of Black people in this country. And I said, wow, I started seeing them as success stories. And I said, you know what's interesting? Every time I coach somebody, if I coach somebody that's from a different culture, and I ask them to define success in their family, they generally have people and examples. And oftentimes success is defined by your career, how much money you got, how much property you own, how many cars you drive, that kind of thing. And so they have, a list of people in their families that they could say, well, my mom and dad got married, and my mom had X amount of property, and my dad had this amount of money, and they came from this background. And so there's usually a little resume. And I thought about that, and I said, oftentimes as Black people, we don't see our ancestors as having been successful. Did you guys realize that? Because oftentimes we define success by how you matriculate through this society. How much money, how many cars, what's your career, what did you invent, what do you do for a living? That's why we walk up to each other and go, well, what do you do? We don't ask people any other question. It's just, we might ask our name. Might say, hey, what's your name? What you do? Because that's how we define success in this country. But what about your and my ancestors who survived, who made it, who remained creative? We continue as a culture to remain creative. Most of us, when you look in our faces, you can't even tell our ages, but yet we come from decades and centuries of trauma. That's a survivor. That's a successful person. Is it a successfully perfect person? Maybe not. But when you see how Dr. Miles Monroe is going to define success, you're going to realize that you come from a legacy of successful people. People who have survived, people who have thrived, people who have continued to maintain their faith, that are not out here being violent and committing heinous, violent acts on people for no reason. We just don't come from that. So when we get in these, these matrices now where we start turning on each other and some of this Black on Black crime, this is a definite trauma response. And it's a new phenomenon, because we stop defining success by what's inside of us and have started to define success by how somebody matriculates through society. And then we start competing against each other. And then we start working for somebody who says, no, this is my territory. No, this is your territory. Or no, you should have those gym shoes. She should have those gym shoes. And then we start shooting and killing each other. But the real root of it is this trauma and the way we define success. Some people say, well, no, it's because people don't have money. But a lot of people aren't out here. You know, when you look at all this crime that's out here, a lot of it's not, especially in our community, a lot of it ain't got nothing to do with money. If it has something to do with money, you could say, okay, this is how we can correct it. Most time it's got to do with our trauma response towards each other. I don't like him. He don't like me. It's domestic violence. It's interpersonal drama that causes us to commit these acts of violence on each other. So interesting and unique thing. But let's start today with how we define success. I want to bring on Dr. Myles Munroe. This is a 3-minute video. You all know one of the things that I've been telling you all to do way back when I was on radio. When I was on radio in DC, I was telling you all, create your own platform, gather knowledge, gather information. It's important that we study. Don't let somebody tell you that because they don't like somebody that you can't learn anything from them. Just because somebody else doesn't like somebody does not mean, right, that you can't get information from them. Case in point, we're building the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum because there was so much that he contributed to what is now modern day science. And because he was unpersoned, nobody knows it. And so we get an opportunity with the museum to talk about his work to establish independent education, his work to establish a dietary program that at a time when Black people were used to eating food scraps, they just made it a delicacy. But those food scraps were killing us. And so he gave us a diet and a way to live, to detoxify ourselves, to maintain our lives, to create longevity. He told us who we are and define that. He fought for the right to define and practice your own religion. There were no Muhammads or Abduls in the phone book back then before the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So there's the economic development piece. There's the treatment of women. There's a lot. And so sometimes it's important for us to throw away what the propaganda says about somebody, because from a political standpoint, they may not get along, and be able to dig in and go, what did that person teach? What can I learn? What can I take away and create a platform for myself? That's what's important. All right. And so a lot of you may not have even heard of Dr. Myles Munroe. Well, here's a chance for you to learn from somebody today that you may be able to comb through his presentations. May Allah be pleased with him. He's no longer with us, but you may be able to comb through his presentations and find something that'll work for your own knowledge platform. All right, here we go. Give me a thumbs up if you.
Success is not what you've done compared to what other people have done. Sometimes we think success is a competition. Competition is a sign of insecurity. Successful people have no competition. If you study them, they're not interested in what you're doing at all. They're too committed to what they're doing. Successful people don't compare themselves to anyone. That leads to point number 2. Success is defined as what you've done compared to what you were created to do. In other words, success and failure is determined by how much you fall short of what the manufacturer designed you to perform. In other words, success is competition with yourself. Let me put it another way. If you knew that you could have done better, you are a failure. Think about it for a second. I remember one day when I came home from school, I was so excited. I got a B in class, and I ran home, told my mama, look at my exam, my test. Little kid, you know, I was excited. I got a B, and I got 75 on the test. And I was so excited. And my mother says, what are you so proud of? She said, I know you, boy. There's an A inside of you. Go back and go study again. Here I am, so excited with a B. She said, no, you an A kid. She was teaching me the lesson. She said, now you came first in the class with 75. You are still a failure. It simply means the other kids didn't try at all. So you can always find someone less than you. That doesn't make you a success. See, if you knew what God gave you birth to do, and you're not doing it at the level he expects you to, you are not successful. So in other words, success is the fulfillment of the purpose and the assignment for which you were created. If your laptop does not perform what the company guarantees it should perform, the laptop is failing. If the iPad does not perform all the guarantees of the company that sent it to you, the iPad is failing. Most of us live on some of our functions. And because other folks next to us ain't using none of theirs, we think we're doing good. See, this is the problem with humans. We love to compete. True leaders never compete. They are focused on their assignment. So success is finding your purpose, your reason for being created, and then pursuing the fulfillment of that. In other words, another way to say it is success is fulfillment and completion of purpose.
That was Dr. Miles Monroe. And I got so much out of that when I was looking at that the other day. And I said, we got to talk about that. Shout out to those of you all who are in the chat. I don't know about y'all, but I'm excited to see how God is going to make himself known today. I'm excited about that. Good morning, Mom. Good morning, Sister Monica. Wa alaikum salam. Great day. Grand rising, my sister. Good morning, Brother Lamont. Wa alaikum salam. Brother Ronald, peace and blessings to you, sir. Sister Monica says she loves Dr. Miles Monroe. You know, he was defining success. And our incorrect definition of success has created trauma in our lives. I realized when I was looking at my life as a to-do list that I was creating trauma in my life. Now, don't get me wrong. I still need the to-do list. I still need to project manage myself. But by defining ourselves according to what somebody else is doing. I don't know how many of you all, but do you know people who are constantly fishing when you're around them to find something that they're better at than you? Whether it's who makes the most money, who looks the best, who's the thinnest, who's the loudest. There's always this competition because that person is defining success by attention. That's a trauma response. And then it also creates more trauma because it's going to impact your ability to have a healthy relationship with somebody. It's going to mess your head up when you find out that you ain't the smartest, you ain't the finest, you ain't the loudest, you ain't got the most money, you don't got the best house, the best car, the best husband. Most of us keep ourselves in little small circles so that we can be the best in those spaces. And then there's always somebody looking at you like, girl, you ain't nothing. You ain't doing nothing because I'm doing this. If you start competing with people based on money and you think, okay, well, because of my corporate job, I make so much money. But somebody can come and go be a stripper and make 10 times more money than you. So how is that the proper definition of success? And how much trauma are you creating in your own brain when you find out that person who's a stripper is making more money than you? Because again, you're defining that and you're saying, well, I'm looking down on her because she's a stripper. When Dr. Miles Monroe is telling us, asking us, what did you show up on the planet to do? And are you doing the very best that you can? He compared us to laptops and iPads or some piece of equipment. Think of a car. If you buy a car and the car don't perform based on the way the manufacturer said it's supposed to perform, then the car ain't no good. You give it a low rating, you want to take it back, you want to turn it back in. Well, let's ask ourselves that question. Are we performing to the best of our ability? Could we have done better in that situation? Could we have been better? Even if you make a mistake, don't get stuck on whether or not somebody knows you made a mistake, getting embarrassed. I made a mistake recently and I was embarrassed by the mistake. So I just kind of got quiet. But at the end of the day, what's the real success story? The real success story is, do I go inside of myself and say, how could I have handled that better? See, you may not be able to deal with the trauma response that you triggered in somebody else. And the relationship may be over with. You may not be able to go back to the person and go, hey, I messed up, because now they got a trauma response, but you can control your own trauma response. You know what, Allah? You showed up and showed me this today. You showed me this inside of myself. I could have done better in this situation. I could have performed better. I could have spoke differently. I could have made a phone call. Maybe I didn't have to make that phone call. Maybe I should have done this differently, and it has resulted in this. But the real success story is, how am I correcting my behavior? How do I atone? How do I make this better? And so those are the things that we have to think about is, are we performing up to our best ability? Are we performing? So I'm excited today. I woke up today and I said, I am really, really excited to see how God is going to show up and make himself known today. I got a to-do list. I got stuff I got to do. I got a calendar that I'm managing. I got stuff that I've listed out and wrote down. But what's most important as I navigate through that is how I'm feeling as I'm going through it. See, because if I'm feeling sad, if I'm feeling defeated, if I'm feeling worried, but I'm still trying to get myself through the to-do list, stop for a minute. Take inventory. If I take inventory of myself and I'm feeling that way, sad, worried, defeated, concerned, then I got to stop and fix that emotional state, because that emotional state is the state of my Black business at that moment. My emotional state. Because then when I go and talk to people that I'm subcontracting with, or people who have reached out to me because they want services, or people that I'm going to go pitch to because I'm pitching my services, the state that I'm in, the emotional state that I'm in, is the state of my Black business at that moment. So if I walk in there confident, excited to see how God is going to make himself known today, knowing that he can do all I believe that he can do, and he will do all that I believe that he can do. If I walk in there and I bring that environment with me, knowing that I'm a beautiful person, knowing that I got a lot going for myself, knowing that at the end of the day, nobody can beat me at being me, knowing that at the end of the day, I'm not addicted to competing against you or anybody else. I'm competing against myself. When I walk in there knowing this is another opportunity for me to be bigger, better, more happier, more healthier, more wealthy, when I bring that atmosphere with me, that's the state of Black business that I'm bringing to the table. So we all got to take responsibility for the energy we bring to the table. That's success. I'm always very careful. If I get on the phone with somebody, if I'm going through something, I will immediately change my emotional state so that I don't have a negative or an adverse emotional state while I'm on the phone with that person. Why do I do that? Because I want to be responsible for the energy that I bring to the table, the energy I bring to the phone call, the energy I bring to Zoom, the energy I bring to you all. I want to be responsible for that because I want to be as much of an asset as possible. And so just in that very moment when I quickly have to work on myself to turn something around, somebody could have just made me mad. And sometimes I'll say it, but I may have toned it down a little bit. Somebody could have just ticked me off. But I say, you know what? Let's start getting a lesson up out of this. Let's not create a trauma response. See, this is what a lot of us do. We get an extreme emotional response to somebody else's trauma. Somebody call us, tell us about what they've been through, what they're going through, where they are. And then we have a trauma response. And what do? We make a rule in our life. We start making rules. We start going, oh, okay. Not guidance, a rule. And then we shut everything else down because we start having a trauma response to it. Well, that's your state at that very moment. That's the state of Black business for you as a conscious entrepreneur in that moment. So state of Black business is not about how many Black businesses we got, how much money we make, how many more millionaires we have, because the majority of the people in business have their own trauma that they're dealing with. And where's the healing? Where's the support for the financial trauma, the social traumas that we are dealing with as a people? Yes, we're told to pull ourselves up by our bootstrap, and that's necessary. But then guess what? Who's helping us with the trauma? That's why this week we're going to dedicate to that. Thursday night, we're going to talk about a mind without borders. Friday morning, we're going to talk about healing from financial trauma. And I'm going to go through financial trauma responses. I'm going to give you what I normally give to some people at the first Money Psychology series workshops that I give. So that means after Friday, y'all going to have to go buy it. And you're going to have to go to booksajawendymuhammad.com so you can go to phase 2 on how to heal your financial trauma. But we got to heal the financial trauma. I was listening to an interview the other day. Oh, after Sister Audrey posted the picture of Master P with my book, I went and listened to an interview where he popped up on The Breakfast Club. And I'm just listening to the financial trauma that he's responding to and that he's having as a result of what people were taking him through. Family members, people saying, oh, he owed me money. And I don't know if he does or not. I'm not on one side or the other. But the point being is all of this, and I think he was saying to Charlemagne and DJ Envy, like, well, why not make a phone call? Why not say, I think it was Just the Mess who said somebody owed her some money. Well, why not call? Why not say, hey, what's up? Because a lot of people's trauma response won't let them call. And then when you have a certain trauma response, then they have a trauma response. And now we're not speaking and now we're not getting along. But it's all because we in this mix, this nasty mess of trauma that we're not healing from. So somebody comes to Master P because they needed help or they were getting a job or wanting a job or trying out for something or whatever, or maybe they want to borrow some money because that's a trauma response. They're going through something traumatic. They need help. Then they trigger him and he's got his own traumas. So he probably helps, maybe over helps, because some of us are people who are overly dedicated to supporting people. That's a trauma response too. So then now the money ain't what it's supposed to be. The timing ain't right. Somebody don't pay the person on the other end and all this stuff goes on. You tell the person, okay, I'm going to pay you back on Friday. And then the person who's supposed to pay you don't pay you on Friday, or it comes in and something happens. And so now everybody's having a trauma response and nobody gets together and says, hey, how do we fix this so that we keep the relationship? We just go and we fall out. This is why certain people who shall remain nameless people talk about, oh, he owes so many people. He's still, being elected and all of these financial things that he goes through or allegedly has gone through. But these people are still committed to him. The relationship is still there. And so what we call that is like a cult response. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's just not the trauma response that we're used to. Man, please, this is how we respond. Somebody do this to me, I wish they would. I wish they would tell me. I wouldn't go back around them people no more if they told me some like that. If you catch yourself, every time somebody comes to you with a problem, you are responding within the context of your own trauma and how you will respond. So they call you, they trigger you, you give them a response based on your trauma. And one of the things that I work on as a coach and as a consultant is to not respond to you based on my own trauma. There are times when y'all come to me with stuff where I say, man, I would have cold cursed that person out. But I don't tell you that because that's my trauma response. I'm helping you to see the facts and the situation and how it's going to impact you. Some of you all come in because you are in business with people and things didn't work out financially. A money promise was made to you, and you're quoting, well, your word's supposed to be your bond and all this stuff. But then they had somebody who was doing something to them. And so the response is now, how do I respond to show them that they better not never ignite my trauma again? Do I sue them? Do I report it? Do I fight them? Do I shoot them? Do I beat them up? Do I call a mama? Do I fire their child? Do I get their child kicked out of school? These are trauma responses. This black on black crime. Sometimes your very presence in the room triggers a trauma response to somebody who's insecure. This is why we have to work on defining success within ourselves, because at the end of the day, if my light shines so brightly that it creates a trauma response in you, that's your problem, not mine. If you see me and I look so good that you automatically feel insecure and you're so jealous, that's a trauma response, and that's your problem, not mine. Don't make that my trauma. Don't come over here hating on me because you mad because I'm shining a light on what you should do. Go do what you're supposed to do. Look at that as a reminder. Say, you know what, Allah? She just showed me. Let me get myself together. But you don't have to. But this is the last thing I'm going to say on this. You don't always got to respond to every single thing. Every time the bell rings, it's not your fight. Somebody show up in the room, they got pretty hair. 2 days later, you at the hairdresser. Maybe you needed to go to the hairdresser. Maybe you didn't. Maybe just the next time you go to the hairdresser, do a better job. I don't know. But stop living your life in response to every single thing that you see. You know, before I do something, I ask myself, why am I doing this? What is the reason? I was getting ready to send someone a job opening that somebody had sent me. A friend of mine is working for a company, and they were looking for a particular, very specific job that they were trying to fill. And so she sent it to me. She said, if you know anybody that has these openings or has this, who qualifies, send it to me, send them my way. And there was a particular person in my mind who I was going to send it to. And in that simple moment, I said, why am I sending this to her? Am I sending it to her because I think she really needs it? Am I sending it to her because I think she's really qualified? Am I sending it to her because it'll help my friend? Why am I sending this to her? And you know what I realized? I'm sending it to her because the job that she's on, I think is beneath her. And I think she should take a look at this one. Well, that ain't really my business. She knows this job is beneath her, but maybe she has a goal. Maybe she has a reason for why she's doing it. So since my intention wasn't right, I didn't send it to her. She didn't tell me she was looking for a job, so why even send it to her? I don't even know her to be upperly mobile like that, like she's really looking for something. I just know that she's in a position that's a dead end position. She's not really treated in a way that I think she should be treated, but that's not my business. So my intention was bad, so I didn't send it to her. Maybe I'm just sending it to her to shame her into making a move because I care about her. Well, that's wrong. That's a trauma response. So I'm having a trauma response to the trauma that she's going through, and she ain't even responding. So I said, I'm not going to send it to her. So I sent it to some other people that I knew were really, looking for something and who I knew would really be excited about it. All right. Okay, family. I'm going to get out of here. Sister Betty said mine also. I know. Brother Daryl Muhammad. Hey, Brother Daryl. Assalamu alaikum. He said, my dear sister, keep up the good fight. Thank you for that. Thank you, and thank you. Well, you all, like I told y'all, I don't know about y'all, but I'm excited to see how Allah is going to make himself known today. And I encourage us to redefine success. Go back and listen to the video. Take a listen to Dr. Miles Monroe and learn how to define success based on how well you're performing and not based on how well you stack up to the next person. Don't worry about it. Worry about what's inside of yourself. I could go on and on and on about that. All right. So Thursday night, family, here's what's coming up. Thursday night on the Mind of an Entrepreneur show, we're going over chapter 3, okay, in my book. It's on cultivating a mind without borders. So read that. We're going to talk about that. Friday morning, we're going to deal with financial traumas. We may end up doing that Friday and Saturday morning, but for sure Friday morning, and then we may just come back Saturday and clean it up and talk about it some more. But we're going to talk in detail about financial traumas so that we can shed some light and bring some attention on the traumas that we have financially that are impacting our ability to make money and interact properly in the financial world. Financial trauma is just like relationship traumas. So we're going to talk about that. And when you heal from traumas, there's certain processes and techniques. The sad part about it is that we don't consider the fact that maybe we don't have any money as trauma, or the fact that maybe we can't manage money as trauma, or how we're responding to not having money, or how we respond to having money. Do we overspend? Do we show out? Do we cut up? We're going to talk about that. These are all financial traumas. And it's time for us to heal. Time for us to heal. So listen, you all, we started off talking about defining success, how we define success. I want us to start looking at our ancestors and people that came before us, even if they didn't have a big career, even if they didn't have a lot of money, even if they didn't have a big car, even if they didn't have a whole lot of houses and a whole lot of businesses. If they survived and remained faithful and made it, that's a success story, especially considering the odds of what many of them face. Then that's successful. So I want you to stop thinking that you come from an unsuccessful background. I don't have no success in my background. My people was enslaved. Stop it. Your people are survivors. And so while you might have a counterpart that you sit in the cubicle next to who doesn't look like you, and maybe their parents had several homes and they came from a big business, and maybe they inherited a business. Maybe they're working in a business that their father or mother owned and started and left for them. That's great. Let's celebrate them and learn from them. But you shouldn't look at yourself as being any less successful, because you come from survivors, people who endured, people who made it, people who remained faithful, and people who created and put all of their dreams and goals deep down inside of you. And so now you and I have to define success based on what's inside of us. All right, family, peace and blessings. I will see you. We may do a few lives coming up this week. I don't know. I'm kind of feeling it. I may come back and do a live and let y'all know, how did God show up and show out today in your life? Let's get excited. Not excited about our to-do list, but let's get excited to see how is God going to show up and show out for us today. Let's get excited to see, ooh, let me see the table that he prepared for me. Let me see it. Let me see it, God. Let's get excited for that. Let's get excited when he tells us no weapon formed against us shall prosper. Ooh, how you going to defeat these weapons? Because I don't know how I'm going to defeat it, but let's see how you're going to show up and make yourself known today. That's what we're going to get excited about. All right. Support your own and see yourself as successful. Don't go anywhere. Check out this message.
And I'm saying this to all of us. Our people are ready to spend their money with their own. There's no time better than this for 6 or 8 of you to pool your money and look in the community and open up a store to fulfill the needs of our people, and we will support you. It's your time now. That's being a man. Supporting your own people that are in business. Going into business yourself. Think out of the box. What can you create that will put black people to work?